Okay, good morning. Welcome to the April 9th version of Curriculum and Instruction class. We're going to be here for a few minutes today because what I want to do, I want to introduce the competency assignment to you. I want to make sure that we're on the same page with what understanding by design is. We'll run through the competency assignment, and then if you have any questions at the end, we can ask those. The other thing that I want to say before I forget to say it is that on Tuesday then, what we'll do is actually make that class kind of like an office hours class. So if as you're doing the competency assignment this week or this weekend or whatever, if you have questions, you can pop in at any time between 10 and 11 then on Tuesday, and ask those questions, and then we'll make the competency assignment due on the 15th, which is Wednesday. Does that make sense? So you'll have opportunities to ask questions basically as you're working on it. Next week is supposed to be the week where you're out in schools and visiting for your observation hours. So we only have one class scheduled on the books anyway. So we'll do our face-to-face class on Thursday. We'll do Tuesday as an office hours class. So I'll try to say that again before we get off here, but I wanted to say that before I forgot. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. Oops. Okay. So just a quick run through once again of understanding by design and the context with which we kind of find ourselves here. The last thing we talked about, the idea of how do teachers know what to teach. We showed you a what I call a curriculum map. Some people call it a scope and sequence. It's the same thing. It's you go and what do you start to teach in August and what do you end up teaching in May? And they're a collection of units that are actually aligned from August to May, hopefully according to standards and all that sort of thing. So if you take a closer look at those, then what you saw were individual unit plans. And that's what we're going to take a look at beginning today, so that you can do what's called an annotation. You can kind of sift through the unit itself and try to identify the various things that we've taught you about so far in this course this semester. So the unit plan eventually that you're going to be taking a look at is a 4th grade social studies unit. It was actually developed by two students in our program here a couple years ago. So these guys here, Lincoln and Stephanie, I think are out actually teaching. Well, I suppose they're teaching remotely now, but they've got jobs, they're out and they're teaching. This is a unit they developed in their last couple of semesters. And so we're going to ask you to kind of go through and take a look at the unit as well as they've developed it to try and identify the various parts that we've talked about. Again, the 3 stages of backward design, and we've harped on this a lot, so I won't stay on it very long, but the first thing you do in backward design is you identify the desired results. So you take a look at the state standards. You identify the standards that you want to teach, break those standards down into objectives and I can statements. The second thing you do then is you go and determine acceptable evidence of learning, which means you design assessments. Formative, summative, design those assessments first, and then at the end of that, once those are all done, you go back and then you plan your learning experiences, plan for your instruction. And your unit, when you eventually do these units by backward design, the units will be set up that way as well. So as we look through the sample unit today that you're going to annotate, you'll see that it's set up this way. Identify desired results, determine acceptable evidence of learning, plan learning experiences and instruction. There's other slides in here, but let me just kind of wrap it up with this. This first bullet here, UBD, or understanding by design, is a way of thinking purposefully about curricular planning. It offers the 3-stage process, as we've talked about. Helpful design tools, design standards. We'll see some of those here in a second. The primary goal of understanding by design is student understanding, the ability to make meaning of big ideas and transfer their learning. I think one of those terms that you looked at in the scavenger hunt at the beginning of this class was something called a transfer goal. And essentially what that means is, can students take what you've taught them in this setting and transfer that knowledge to their own life practice, their own life experience? And one of the things that we want to do through this idea of backward design is take those transfer goals and allow students to really internalize and articulate them so they'll be useful for them beyond the classroom and later on in their lives. And you can kind of, this PowerPoint's available on our course website I think in the week 3 module. Again, it's the 3-stage module: desired results, evidence is stage 2, and then the learning plan is stage 3. And we'll kind of take a look at that. So having said that, let's take a look at our course website. And I'm going to stop the share here and go to the course website, and we're going to take a look at competency 1 through 4. Questions before I do that? Questions about anything? All right, let me share again. So when you go to the course website, to enter the Intro to Curriculum Instruction website, go to modules, and you got week 1, week 2, and then here's week 3. And what we'll ask you to do is open up assessment competencies 1 through 4. And when you do that, what you will see is this screen. And there are 2 links to click on. One says assessment for competencies 1 through 4. That's the actual document that we're going to ask you to fill out. And the other thing that we'll ask you to click on is this sample unit plan. Now, last class period, I sent you to like the Colorado State website, and you had dozens of backward design units to choose from. For the purposes of this assignment, everybody's going to do the same unit plan. Everybody's going to look at the same unit plan, okay? That just makes it easier to answer and to ask and answer questions, makes it easier to do comparison between what folks have and what they don't have. So we're going to ask you to do this sample unit plan that's located in the actual competencies assignment itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at the competencies document. And I'm going to have to, let me stop share, and I'll share with you the competencies document here. When you open that up, you will find a document that looks like this. And it's got exactly what you're being assessed on. Here are the 4 competencies: locating standards on state websites, locate and define academic language of curriculum and instruction, identify instructional strategies in model unit plans, differentiate between instructional strategies and learning activities. Here's the rubric. If you want exemplary or proficient, these are the things that you would need to do. And in particular, if you just focus on answering these, there's 4 questions. Focus on what the questions actually ask for, and you're going to be fine as far as the rubric goes. So let's take a look at the questions. First one you're going to do is identify the state standards located on the unit. Okay, so you're literally going to list the state standards as they're identified on the unit. If you want to, you can go to the state website, the DESE website, and try to find those standards individually. For me, if you can actually just look and find them on the unit plan itself and just list them here, that satisfies that standard. You know what standards are being assessed in the unit. Second thing, provide 5 examples found in the unit of the use of academic language of curriculum and instruction. So some of those academic terms will be listed perhaps in the scavenger hunt document that you did at the beginning. Some of them you will just see on the unit itself, and you can either, if you know the definition of it, or you can Google it or use other resources to find the definition of those things. But provide 5 examples of academic language that we've used throughout the study of those competencies. List them and define them. Okay, don't just list and define in order to pass that competency. Now the questions 3 and 4, if I would have been smart or on top of my game, I would have amended this document to flip questions 3 and 4. You should probably look at question 4 first, and it would make question 3 easier, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do is go through the unit plan and find 10 examples of learning activities, and I'll show you where to find those here in just a second. 10 examples of learning activities. Then what I would do if I were you is I would take each of those 10 learning activities and find the instructional strategy that is connected to it. So take the activities themselves. So for instance, if in the unit, one of the instructional activities is doing a T-chart, then come back to number 3 and say, what actual learning strategy does that fall under? That's a Marzano strategy, probably finding similarities and differences, okay? So probably do the activity first and then connect each of those activities back to an instructional strategy. In the past, students have tried to do the strategies first and then find activities in the units that are connected to them. That doesn't seem to make as much sense. It makes it a lot harder. So I would do question 4 first and then come back to question 3. And that's it. That's the document. Questions about that? Okay, so let me look at one more thing here. And this is the actual unit plan itself. When you click on that link, this is what you find. Okay, this is, as I said, a 4th grade social studies unit. And I know that some of you are not social studies folks, and I know that some of you are not elementary folks, but the backward design process is the same whether you're secondary, middle school, or elementary. It doesn't make a difference as far as the steps are concerned. So we'll just have you break this one down. We talked about stage 1 and desired results. So this is where you'll find those standards, okay? Discerning eyes will already see them. The second thing is assessment. So what kind of evidence is there? This is where you find the different ways that that the teachers will assess for those standards to make sure that students understand what they're supposed to do. And stage 3 is the actual learning plan. So if you're going to look for strategies and activities, learning activities and learning strategies, you'll probably be more likely to find them in stage 3, okay? You can find them in stage 2 as well, but stage 3 is probably going to be where your bread is buttered in this, because there are, I think, 6 to 9 weeks that are of learning activities that are presented in this plan. That's a lie. 3 weeks of learning activities are presented in this plan, okay? So this is the unit we want you to take a look at. It's backward design. It's got everything that you would need. It's got the standards. It's got the academic language. It's got the learning activities and learning strategies. All we're asking you to do, essentially, is go through and identify what is what on that list. Okay, that's an awful lot to throw at you in 12 minutes of class time here. Are there questions that we have? No. Okay. It's pretty straightforward, quite honestly. Right now on our course website, I think the due date is April 13th. I'm going to change that to April 15th so that once again on Tuesday, if you have questions, you can use this class time as an office hour, basically. You don't have to show up if you don't want to, but I'll be here from 10 to 11. Just pop in and out as you have questions, and then we'll make the document due on the 15th. Now, just because the document's due on the 15th doesn't mean that's the be-all, end-all. If there are things that you need to do to fix it, I will give it back to you. And you can have up till the end of our course time to fix it. We just want to make sure that you get it right. And the other thing I would say, and I may have said this earlier, but I'll say it again, the competencies are the things that you have to get done. The other stuff, we can mess around with that and play around with that. Mostly those are so that you can gain understanding of what's to come, but the competencies are the important things. So this is something that has to get done. There's no wiggle room on this. You have to get it done before the course is done. You have to score proficient or you have to do it over. So that's the deal with this. The other things in that boat are the lesson plan as well, that we consider that a course competency. And then once again, remember those identification of learning strategies and learning activities, that log that we have you fill out. Those are the things that you have to get done. And so this is one of them. So we want to make sure that you have ample time for that and asking questions. And again, that's why we'll do Tuesday as an open office hour kind of day. Okay. All right. This was a lot of me just throwing stuff at you, but that was probably the most efficient way that I could do that. So if you have questions, I'll hang around. If not, you're free to head out. Hopefully, as your weekend begins, you get to go out and do something, like out into the backyard maybe and sit on the picnic table, or watch people as they walk by your window and look at them longingly. Whatever it is that you're going to do this weekend, do it well. I myself will be exploring my TikTok app that I've now put on my phone. I don't quite understand it yet, so it's just videos. Yeah, okay. So maybe I will actually produce a video. Can you just do that on your phone and then just upload it? Is that how it works? All right.
Yeah.
That'll be what I work on. That'll be what I work on this weekend, and probably some other things too. So, all right, you guys take care of yourselves. If you need anything, I'll stay on, as I said, till you're all gone. And if not, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.